Hello BookTube, and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. These are the books I've been working on this week. So in terms of this channel, it's actually been a very productive week, and if you've watched any of my videos this past week, you know why. It's because the wife and kids are visiting my wife's parents for this week, and I have been using all my free time to read books and watch movies. So I've gotten a lot of reading done this week. I've also watched some movies which I've talked about. But yeah, it's been a good week of reading for me. But I don't think I really have that much to say in my weekly reading vlog because I've already made so many videos this week. So Journey to the West, Volume 3, I finished it and I reviewed it yesterday, and so I don't really have anything more to say on this one. Harriet the Spy, finished it this week, reviewed it, don't really have anything left to say. A Wrinkle in Time, started it this week, finished it this week, reviewed it. I don't really have anything more to say on that. I'll link to all the videos down in the description down below, of course. I completely neglected my professional development reading. I only read a couple pages out of this book. I don't really have anything to say about it. I did, however, make good progress on Marvel Horror Lives Again. So I read from page 740 to 894. So what is that? About 160 pages almost. Now it's comic books. So I don't know how much that page count is worth, but whatever. So this week I finished up the storyline of Lilith, Dracula's daughter. And it finishes off with an X-Men story in which Lilith appears in the X-Men. And then we go on to the next section here, which is War is Hell, which is a new character, a new concept. Basically, it's some guy who's cursed by death for reasons which aren't entirely clear, to inhabit bodies of dead soldiers at the beginning of World War II. And death always has some sort of mission with him. It's kind of like Quantum Leap with dead bodies. This was published in the mid-70s. Published in the mid-70s, so presumably when America was still reeling from the Vietnam War. It was published in 1975. And there is some editorializing here about how awful war is. Where is it? Over here. Kind of editorializing. It's basically the writer saying he's not going to editorialize about how awful war is because we all know it. But that's the gist of it. It's rather grim and depressing reading. I mean, like, I know it's horror. But I kind of was hoping for more of like the fun, cheesy horror, not the depressing war stories. I like to read comic books. Well, comic books can be serious, right? There are like Mouse or something like that. But at least with that, you know what you're getting into. With a Marvel comic, it's meant to be kind of junk food. It's a little bit depressing. But it is an interesting march through history. So we start off with the invasion of Poland. I've got to admit, even though I consider myself a history buff, World War II is something I never really read up on that much. Partly because so many other people around me were obsessed with it. My father, my college roommate, lots of other friends, my brother-in-law. So it always just kind of seemed to me like, oh, okay, that area is done. There are already people who are interested in it. But the invasion of Poland, I never really realized that it lasted about for a month, as long as it did, for a month of fighting. It talks about, I've been looking some of this up on Wikipedia as well. Talks about the horses charging against the tanks during the invasion of Poland, which actually I looked up in Wikipedia, and Wikipedia said that that's not true. It's like a well-known myth about the war, that the Polish charged the tanks on horses, but it's a myth that apparently popped up fairly early on. And then the next one is the Russian invasion of Finland, which I knew about a little bit, but didn't really know that much about. So I was researching that on Wikipedia, and Finland's whole Finland's whole involvement in the war. You know how you go down these rabbit holes looking at one thing. And then there was the next one is on Shanghai. That one I largely knew about, so I skipped it. But then the next one is Dunkirk. Actually, Dunkirk I largely knew about. And then the invasion of Norway, which again is something I knew vaguely about but didn't know a lot about. So looked it up on Wikipedia. So it's going through the early campaigns of the war in order. And I'm just on the last one here before the character starts doing crossovers in other Marvel franchises, and I guess they abandoned this idea of the war stories. But yeah, that's where I am here. And then the old British and Irish legends. I'm up to page 60 about that. So I read the legend of the children of Lear, which is about, well, actually it's the story here on the title page, where Lear's children get turned into swans. And then I read Darmoid and Grania, another legend from Ireland. I'm probably mispronouncing all of these. But I looked it up on Wikipedia. And I just to check if these are real Irish legends or if the publisher's just making them up. And sure enough, it is a real legend. And it's interesting, the stuff on Wikipedia, because it turns out it's part of a whole larger epic cycle about this chieftain named Fionn mac Cumhaill. And there's this whole Fiann saga. I'm probably mispronouncing all these words wrong. About his adventures. And it's interesting because he's actually the antagonist in this story here. There's kind of a King Arthur and Sir Lancelot and Lady Guinevere type romantic triangle set up here, where one of his loyal soldiers runs off with his wife, and he becomes the avenging husband who chases them, and they are continually rescued from him. But he is the main character of this whole legend, or this whole saga, which Wikipedia says is one of the epic cycles of ancient Ireland mythology. In between, the Ulster cycle, and then there's a Fiann cycle, which is where this comes from, and I forget what the other cycle was, the King cycle or something like that. So, there's, even though these stories are written for children, this combined with some research on Wikipedia is really opening new worlds to me in terms of ancient mythology that I never knew about. So this book is doing what I hoped it would do, is giving me kind of an education. And I'm combining the stuff in here with a little bit of casual research on Wikipedia. But yeah, it's interesting and a very easy read. The pictures take up a lot of pages, so take my page counts with a grain of salt. But there we are. And there we are. And I think I'm going to call that good for this week. I have certainly, I don't know how many hours of video I've produced this week. I have rambled on a lot. What have I got? Like 3 hours of video I filmed this week. So no reason to talk any more than necessary right now. I'm just going to call this quits.